it all on quiet luxury. I have a theory that basically the rise and the explosion of quiet luxury as a trend fed into the boom of dupe culture, which in turn has had a huge hand in dismantling the luxury fashion industry. So I thought that I would sit on here and talk to you about it, and we can decide whether or not my theory has any legs. What a strange little phrase. I like it. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Cassie, and I am a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably gonna love it here. So head down there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. I also have a Substack that will be linked below. Now, this is nothing to do with or is against quiet luxury as an aesthetic, as a style and all of that. Clearly, this is not the vibe I'm on, but that isn't what this is about. It's also like, I like, you know, people when they're out there and they're quiet luxury, I'm like, that looks good on you, like good for you, whatever, and everybody should have their personal style and be respectful of that and everything. That isn't about what this is. It's sort of about how this style's growth and it's like the way that it took over as a trend and its knock-on effects of that. So let's cast our minds back a couple of years ago. The rise of quiet luxury, a phrase that we had never said before. All of a sudden, this is a part of our lexicon. This is a part of fashion language now. Everybody knows what you mean if you're saying like, oh yeah, that's very quiet luxury, blah, blah, blah. It has completely taken over. This didn't feel like just another trend. This wasn't like fringe is in, okay, get a fringe jacket, get a fringe bag, get a fringe little whatever hanging off your belt, fantastic, wonderful, years down the line, great, we're off of it kind of thing. This took over in such a interesting way, especially because all of these things, for a trend to be this big, the stars have to be aligned in such a way, the timing has to be so perfect. And it really just was. It was the final season of Succession. It was Gwyneth Paltrow's courthouse looks, amongst many other things, Sophia Richie's wedding, whatever, that really kind of popularized this look of what some described as old money or quiet luxury. It is a minimalist dressing, it's very neutrals, it's very classic clean cuts. And another reason why this was so popular was we'd been coming out of the pandemic, which was really taken over by like loungewear and buying exciting stuff because what else was there to do? Then it was like dopamine dressing, like I want to wear all this stuff that I've bought. And then it sort of turned, and what with economics the way it is and recession core, then that also came in as a channel of like, okay, well, I want to invest smartly in my wardrobe. I want to buy timeless pieces that I know, yes, might be quite expensive, but I buy them and I have them forever. One of my problems is that timelessness means different things to different people. Just because something is classic, right, in a way that a duster coat is a classic coat, just because it's classic doesn't mean it's timeless for everybody. My version of timeless might be very different to yours. My version of timeless is a sodding polo Ralph Lauren military jacket. I will love that thing until I'm 6 foot under, okay? Until I am sat watching over my family in the dining room in an urn, judging all of their decisions, okay? It means different things to different people. However, because of how massive this trend was, it really took over as to like, well, this is what's classic, this is what's timeless, this is what's a good spend of money. And when purse strings are being tightened and we're being a bit more discerning with our purchases, okay, it makes sense to buy, let's use the sodding duster coat as an example, a camel duster coat, because that's going to go with everything. And it feels like a safe bet. And so the trend became what's absolutely not trendy at all. And then the brands followed, as they do. Some of which, listen, some brands, this is their bread and butter, this is their tried and true. Lara Piana is quiet luxury, has always been quiet luxury, that is them, okay? You're not going to see them walk a sodding befeathered and besequined dress down a runway with all jingle jangles playing behind it and a sodding fanfare. That is the antithesis of the brand, okay? But what we then start to see are brands leaning into this aesthetic because they're seeing as, well, these are the brands that are doing well, these are the brands that are successful, this is what people want, and also because it's easier to produce. That brings us to dupe culture. Dupe culture in general, again, the stars are aligning in such a certain way that all of these things have a moment, right? But let's take, for example, the Roe Margot bag. This bag came out of nowhere, left field. It's the new Birkin. It is the it bag. All of the celebrities are carrying it. It's a great investment because it's a very classic piece. It's not going to go out of style, all of that business. And it is the it bag. We couldn't get the name The Row Margot out of our mouths, okay? It just pitched a tent in the back of there and said, I'm gonna be here for a while. And then the dupes came. Why? This is a relatively simple bag to make. It is a simple bag style, and there is nothing wrong, by the way, this whole thing, there is nothing wrong with simple minimalist items. I'm just talking about how that then fed into what we're kind of seeing now, right? But it's a really simple bag, and so it's really quite simple to replicate. It's a leather bag, it has these buckles on the side. There is such minimal branding to the point that I think there is just a tiny foil The Row stamp on one side of the bag. So really, a dupe, aside from if you were to touch it, they've been really quite indistinguishable, okay? And access to dupes is so much easier than ever. You don't have to, I don't know, ferret down the dark web or, you know, ask your Aunt Tracy to get in touch with cousin Cecil. Is his name Cecil? To, you know, tap a man on the shoulder and, you know, to sort of get a password to unlock something or other for you to get access to a dupe market. You know, like, they are just so in a click away, to be honest with you. And also, because of social media, people are sharing these. People are showing you these dupes, and in some cases fakes. We're just going to use the term dupe in general, okay? We're not going to say that they're using the logo, because it's mainly about the style, it's not really about the brand. We're seeing how easy they are to get, and people are putting these things side by side, and you're like, okay, with the price increases and the price that a lot of these brands are charging for relatively simple designs, you can see how people are sat there going, okay, well, if I can't suddenly tell the difference through a screen, then let me save myself some money and put that money towards something else. Once again, we are being more discerning about our spending decisions, and whilst the quality will most likely vary in person, if you were there to really touch and go, okay, yeah, I can tell that this one is a softer, nicer leather, whatever, right? Unless you are really a die-hard luxury fan or you love the brand or whatever, there's not really that much of an incentive to buy the real thing in a lot of cases. And this isn't just the Row Margot. There are so many examples of this, of clothes and all of that, especially, like I've said, when brands haven't been true to their own style DNA, and you're seeing brands whose vibe was not quite luxury try and give quiet luxury in a way that feels indistinguishable sometimes from the high street or fast fashion brands, lest we forget Pretty Little Thing, one of the sort of final bosses of fast fashion, okay, you know, there's Shein and all that now, or whatever, they went quiet luxury. That tells you how, quote unquote, easy it is to replicate on a much, 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 much cheaper scale. And the price gap then between a high street or a dupe or a whatever version and the real thing is massive. So there's a lot to justify in that gap. And whilst all this is going on, the luxury numbers are slipping, okay? Pretty much everybody is slowed down, except for brands like Hermes that's killing it, brands like Prada and Miu Miu that are killing it. Who else really is like cleaning up? Everybody else has slowed down, whether it be by a little bit, like Louis Vuitton, or a lot, like Gucci. And I'm not saying that it's all about the boom boom and the bling and the in your face and all of that, even though that is what I maybe resonate more towards, okay? If we even look at previous eras of fashion and minimalist sort of like eras within that, you have Tom Ford for Gucci. That was really quite minimalist and simple, but there were still ways that made it feel elevated and different from a version that you could get anywhere else. It was elements of hardware. It was the cuts that you couldn't replicate for cheap, okay? Phoebe Philo's Celine. There we go. I mean, she's got her Phyla files, following her to her own brand. Her own brand, I mean, it's privately owned, but I've heard that that's doing very well. Listen, again, I'm not a Phoebe Philo girl, but like, you can sort of see she's not cheap at all. And these are elements of, you know, success for these brands and all of that. But it also depends on the era of time. We're now at a time where dupes and technology and all of that is so advanced that they can knock these things out to an insane level of, you know, replication or quality or whatever, that has also knocked luxury brands. On top of that, you then have the added layer of quality issues. Quality issues across different brands, workers' violations in some cases. How many brands are we now under court administration in Italy? 4 or 5, all right? Because they've been subcontracting out and those subcontracted factories are treating their workers terribly and everything else, okay? So you're starting to hear these things and you're like, actually, the gap now feels as though it is narrowing between luxury fashion and high street brands. You also have high street brands like H&M doing runways, COS doing runways, okay? And you're like, okay, the lines are becoming more and more blurred in a lot of cases. And all of these things have contributed to luxury's downturn. However, a little bit of glimmer of hope here, a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. The pendulum is starting to swing back. And if you look at the runways for Spring/Summer 2026, you're seeing craftsmanship, you're seeing elaborate designs, you are seeing wearable pieces as well, more simple pieces, but the fabrication or something means that they feel different and fresh and unique and harder to replicate. Things are feeling a little bit more bold. This isn't to say that, you know, there aren't going to be the more minimalist, simple pieces, and brands like Max Mara are always going to give you that, and Loro Piana and Brunello Cucinelli and all of this, okay? But for those brands that were more mutable and were more trend kind of chasing, you're seeing them circle back to who they are as brands and what makes them different, and focus on how can we justify the price with the quality, with the craftsmanship that you cannot get anywhere else. You're also seeing younger customers turn towards purchases. Well, this one isn't even younger customers, but jewelry. Why? Because that luxury is felt very much in the purchase intrinsically, or even the growth of the vintage market, the resale market for these more rare pieces, pieces that feel archival pieces or customizing. These are all elements that make something really hard to replicate, and they feel special because of that. And once again, right, the whole sort of underlying thing of quiet luxury was like, oh, you're looking rich, you're looking elegant. And if anybody can look rich at this point, as per the definition of quiet luxury, then maybe real luxury is standing out in whatever way that is truthful to you, your personal style. And also that is how luxury is going to get back on top. It's not necessarily about those loud pieces, but it is about a uniqueness, and what about them and their pieces can justify the prices, because they're really having to work now. They're really having to justify the prices, and through that, and they're going to do that via this route, in my opinion. Like I said, there will always be minimalism. There will always be, the row will still thrive. Okay, the row has a very dedicated group of people who love the sodding row. And those Olsen twins are collecting their money as they should. And they're always going to be that, right? But I'm talking mainly as like a general trend in general. That's been my little theory. What do you think? Am I onto something? Does that make sense? Obviously, there's lots of other factors. I've told you, like price increase and all that, but I think that this was a huge reason as to why, because it was like, I can quite literally get this elsewhere. So there we go, share your thoughts. I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye, guys.